As the final buzzer sounded on the Pistons' 2023 season, two die-hard fans, Mickey and Harry, each passed out and witnessed a vision. They were visited by Detroit's very own mascot, Hooper, the stallion ablaze, who told them the only way the Pistons would ever win a championship again was if these two men started a podcast. To be clear, they said, do we really have to do this? I mean, aren't there enough Pistons podcasts already? It seems like this might be overkill. But Hooper dunked on them, right in their face, and said, your team needs you. He presented them with a prophecy. Now it is their duty to help Detroit rise again and become champions. The Order of the Blazing Horse. Welcome to an all-new episode of The Order of the Blazing Horse, the only Detroit Pistons podcast based on a mystical prophecy. I'm Harry Moros, joined as always by my co-host.
I'm Mickey Jacobs. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you so much for joining. It is a sweltering day in both cities. It is hot, hot, hot. We are feeling the flames from the mane of Hooper, who visited us again just to check in on us. I got visited, Biggie got visited, we checked in, and you know, we're out here, we're just trying to do our podcast thing. He wants to make sure that we are doing it right, that we are following his creed, what he has decreed upon us. So what he presented us with, he hit me up at the top of the head with a basketball clipboard, you know, one of those where they write out the play. And he's like, yeah. I got these principles, like his commandments for us. He's like, I got these principles. You guys got to follow these principles. So he presented you and me with the starting 5 principles of the Order of the Blazing Horse.
Let's get into it. He just wanted to remind us at the end of the day, this is, essentially a cult built around the Pistons. And if we're not adhering to these rules, then we're doing something wrong. So the first one is thou shan't allow easy buckets. That makes sense. I feel like that's the Pistons have always been a defensive team. I can see. Maybe not always, maybe not recently, but
I'll say their fans have been incredibly defensive. So there's that,
and offensive in some regards. Yeah,
very true.
Depends.
So Hooper, for you, we shan't allow easy buckets. Don't try to dunk on us. We ain't going to let you. We going to block you. We going to reject you. We shan't allow that. There will be
resistance.
So that brings us into principle 2. The ball shall not tell a lie. We've known this for many years, maybe 20 years. Ball don't lie. It is a sin here with the Order of the Blazing Horse.
Absolutely. From Sheed's mouth to my ears. That's what I say.
Mm-hmm. And also, welcome to the podcasting world, Sheed. We've seen you out there. We've seen you do your thing. I seen you at a Method Man and Redman concert in Pontiac, Michigan a few years back. And by a few years back, I mean like 15 years back. It was pretty great. Not that great. I mean, it was great seeing you. It wasn't great seeing 15 opening amateur rappers before Method Man and Redman came on stage, one of which I went to the high school with, and him and his crew threw out fake marijuana cigarettes to the crowd. Fake marijuana cigarettes to the crowd.
Hey, how'd you know they were fake?
Because I smoked the shit out of them.
Oh, okay.
It was
Caught
so
you.
Ridiculous.
Under arrest.
Hey, it's legal here, baby. Wasn't back then.
Yeah, podcast narc over here.
And we are the Order of the Blazing Horse. Let's not forget that, Mickey.
That's true. It's in the name.
Hooper tokes. All right, so let's get into principle 3, what he has presented us with. Number 3.
Yes. Thou must make threes and play D in the D. Can't have the 3 without the D in the D. Look, I think this one's pretty self-explanatory. I'm good with this too. I hope Trajan makes some moves that make this kind of thing happen, because right now I feel like we don't really have either.
We had Bye Burks. We had Bye Bogey. Mm-hmm. Because they hit the 3. They hit the 3 like Harry hit that fake weed at the Method Man and Redman concert with tenacity, with enthusiasm, and they played D. They brought the D like that rapper brought the weed to those joints. It was not there. It was
not at all. Yeah,
it was not even a figment of it. And so no shade to those players. I think they have places in the league. I just think that with Detroit, I agree with Hooper. Thou must make threes and play D. That is a big and. I want the and there. And I think that there are plenty of players that are available in this draft and in free agency that can bring it. When we talk to Bryce, who we've got upcoming on the show, I'm sure he'll talk about some players he likes that capability from. Hooper presented us with a fourth principle. That principle was there shall be as many core fours as there have to be. We have no limit on core fours. We've got a rotating door of core fours. I'm fine with it. I don't even think most people would be able to say who the core four is at this very moment. People are looking at a core two being on the move. So Hooper is like, you know what? We're open to it.
Yeah, it's not great. And you know, I got to be honest with you. This principle makes me a little worried, actually, because I'd love to just like not have such a revolving door of the guys that we're supposedly building around. Because I remember when the first core four was Killian Hayes, Saban Lee, Sadiq Bey, and Isaiah Stewart, and only one remains thus far. I think now it's Cade, Asar, Duran, and Ivy. I don't think that's a knock against Stu. I just feel like maybe he's like aged out of or maybe he got a contract, so it's like,
sorry, Stu, you're too old to be part of the core.
Yeah.
You must be this young to be in the core.
Yes, us two are calling him old. Yeah, that's actually that's fair.
We are significantly older than Isaiah Stewart. I think
he's significantly.
Well, I'm significantly older. I'm old enough to be Isaiah Stewart's dad, Mickey.
I kind of see you that way.
Do you see me that way?
As a father figure to Isaiah Stewart.
Oh, okay, I appreciate
you. Yeah.
I'm sure he would love that. Stu, no beef to you.
Totally.
But you're out of the core four. That leads us to number 5. Principle number 5, presented us by Hooper, was
thou must strive to be the best 5 alive. I love this because it harks back to the going to work Pistons. You know, that was the first great Pistons team that I watched, the first great team that you watched. You got to strive. You know, easier said than done, but you know, all we can do is strive, right?
Now, do you believe that they are the best 5 alive? I think of them as the best 5 alive because I'd never seen, like, granted, you know, I was like in high school, like I was graduating high school right when they won that championship. Hannah Ellen in the chat asks if that's a conspiracy. I don't know if it's quite a conspiracy, but it does make you go, huh.
And that, to me, that's all it takes to be a conspiracy. It's just a classic.
Classic, and it is a number 5. Oh my God! You know we're gonna get emails lit up from Conspiracy Carl about this 5. He actually texted me the other day to see if I wanted to go see the Bad Boys movie. He reminded me it came out June 7th.
I bet he did. I bet he did.
So he'll be back. We'll see Conspiracy Carl back. So we have another 5 for you. We have the 5 principles, which could be a conspiracy, as pointed out by Miss Hannah Ellen. You know he's going to get all juiced out just thinking about that. And so that's the best 5 alive. I do think they're the best 5 alive. I love that team. This Boston team, they've got a great 5. I'd call them maybe the best 5 money can buy. Because they're way more expensive. They're a way more expensive team. You got 2 max dudes. The Pistons weren't a max. How many? I mean, they had 4 All-Stars. Isn't that crazy that 4 of them were All-Stars? I mean, and Tayshaun did not make the All-Star, and he was also the longest lasting one. Tayshaun, we love you. You had like maybe the most memorable part of that whole run, and you weren't an All-Star, but you were forever an All-Star in our heart. So I think that was the best 5 of all, the best 5 alive. We'll get back to them in a second because Hooper he had more principles for us. Like we had a 6-man one off the bench. Principle number 6: carrots are yummy.
Yeah, that felt like it kind of just like got through in there. Like maybe that was something Hooper specific that he just wanted to kind of like drop in hints. Like we should. I don't know if he's like he wants like us to sacrifice carrots or make offerings.
Yes,
offerings of some kind.
Some things are fishy. This is very horsey, I would say. This is a little horse play coming from Hooper because he had a whole bunch of stuff about oats as well in there.
We don't have to get into all that, but it was like a whole run about carrots are yummy, oats also yummy, not quite as yummy as carrot. But yeah, I said we weren't going to get into it, so but noted,
another
Hooper.
another one was thou must pass Hooper the rock being a cube of sugar.
Sugar
and I was
cubes,
like,
yeah.
and like, I don't like him calling a cube of white powder the rock. Hooper, you might have a problem. So
Yeah, it's gonna get confusing real fast.
We'll,
Yeah.
I'll talk to you about that a little bit later, Hooper. But we appreciate these. We shall live by these. So these are our principles. We'll get rid of number 6 there. Carrots are yummy. They're good for your eyesight. Good to eat. Good to eat. So we will follow that. But thou shalt allow easy buckets. The ball shall not tell a lie. Thou must make threes and play D. In the D. There shall be as many core 4s as there have to be. I'm assuming we're going to see another 2 players in the core 4 this upcoming season. I think they're going to switch out.
Then that's it. After that, that's set. Lock it in.
Well,
that's the true core 4.
There can be as many as there have to be. We must follow the principle.
4 more core 4s. 4 more core 4s.
And thou must strive to be the best 5 alive. And in regards to that, I did want to talk to you. There was this talk going around on social media about whether or not the 2017 Golden State Warriors would beat the 2004 championship Pistons team. We have to take into consideration, this is 2 different eras of basketball. In fact, I would argue that the 2017 era team, that group of Warriors, transitioned out of what had been the end of the whole Pistons mentality toward basketball. So, Mickey, who's winning that game?
I gotta be a homer about this. I think one of those things that's so special about the best 5 alive is that they were all-stars, but they weren't like perennial all-stars. And I think there was just something about like, and this is sort of a vague answer, but I feel like there's just like something to be said for the intangibles of the moment. And, the way that they were all kind of journeymen who arrived at the same place. And, the Pistons have like an amazing history. But when the bad boys beat the Lakers, they were kind of on the way out. When the going to work Pistons beat the Lakers, it was Kobe Shaq. Like nobody thought that they had a chance.
Gary Payton, Karl Malone. Like,
come on.
Let's not forget the Lakers were trying to be what the Detroit Red Wings were during their end of the cap moment. They're plucking stars. Like, guys are trying to get it. Also, you gotta love the best 5 alive because they denied that disgusting man, Karl Malone, an opportunity to win a championship. I love that. I'm so about that. That's so great. The mailman does not deliver the championship.
Just like even the All-Star game that they played in, like the grit that they brought to the All-Star game when they all got on the court together, like nobody was ready for it. Nobody expected them to be picking pockets, blocking shots like that. I just think no one else had that kind of defensive energy and like team camaraderie. Like I don't think like you said, if the Celtics are the best 5 money could buy, I think that Warriors team is pretty much the 2017 equivalent of that.
For sure. And like they had the Splash Bros, right? So they're draining threes, like just dripping threes. That's, who else could do that? Chauncey Billups could do that. And Rasheed Wallace. Rasheed Wallace is a stretch 4 3-point specialist. If they gave him the reins to shoot more threes, if more of it was around that, I think it could be equally damaging, right? And like, who's going to guard him? So the questions I'd ask, who collapses first in that game from dehydration, from loss of oxygen, from running too much? Is it Steph Curry? Is it Rip Hamilton?
Yeah, that's a lot of off-ball movement. That's a lot of cardio.
You put Fitbits on those dudes, the Fitbits are blowing up on the wrists.
They're getting their steps in. Those guys are...
Okay, second question for you. In a series, who gets more technical fouls, Rasheed Wallace or Draymond Green?
I feel like they're both getting tossed, like probably in the first half. I think the difference is Draymond like meant to get tossed, like he knew what he was doing, whereas like Sheed got straight up baited into doing some crazy shit.
So Draymond kicked somebody in the nuts, he gets booted. Rasheed looked at the referee, he gets booted. Like that's how that goes down. Here's what I would love, because that game takes place in modern day, right? So those two players get kicked out. Then they have their own stream together where they're both broadcasters announcing the game that they're no longer in. I would love to see that. That would be so fun watching it go down. Do you have any other questions about that game? Because you and I are both on the side of the Pistons would win despite the advancements in the game, despite the change of pace. I guess that 2017 they had KD too, so I mean that's pretty tough to overcome.
You got Tayshaun guarding KD, you think?
Oh, bro! Oh man, what a matchup!
I mean, it was also KD in his prime too, so not
That's true, but it was Tayshaun in his prime, so
for sure.
Well, who knows? Like that matchup is so great because they have, between the two of them height wise, 14 feet, and between the two of them weight wise, 200 pounds maybe. Right? Like just
slender men. Yeah.
It'd be so funny to watch Durant go up for a dunk and for Tayshaun to go up to block him, and they just spin around each other like a Twizzler stick, right? Just
they're like a propeller, and then they just ascend out of the arena.
That would be a match to watch. I would really enjoy that game. I'm trying to think of who the other players on those teams, because we got Clay, we got Steph, we got Durant, Draymond, and this is pre-Wiggins, I think, right?
Yes.
So who was there?
Was it Zaza?
Oh my God, that's right. So I guess him against. Is that right?
Is it?
I don't know. I'd have to remember. Zaza Pachulia.
Yeah.
He was kind of broke too. So I think it's a battle. Some people online are like, the Warriors would blow it away. I don't think so. You don't think so. That we think that the Pistons of that era really built a team. And to transition us into our next segment and to like talk to our guest here, I think that's kind of what the Pistons should be looking at in this draft. People are talking about, it's a bad draft. It's not a bad draft. This is a draft where you can get very good role players, which is a very important part of the team. We're talking about team building here. You don't need to look for a star who, if like everything clicks, it'll go really well. We have one star on the team. It'd be great if we get another one. I really hope so. I don't think it's necessary to win. I think you want to find the best complementary pieces in this draft, and I think there are a lot there. I think there's a lot of picks at 5 we could get. I think there's a lot of picks if we traded back that we could get, and I think there are some free agents that we could possibly land, or like, we've talked about trading for somebody like Brandon Ingram, maybe somebody like more established, maybe like the Andrew Wiggins if he gets back to form. There are guys that could really help out this team and really would be good there, and we're fortunate enough to be joined by somebody who knows almost more about the draft than anybody, and for sure knows more about the draft and Pistons than anybody. And that's from the Pistons Pulse, from the Game Theory podcast with Sam Vecini. It's Motor City Hoops, Bryce Simon. So please join us in welcoming Bryce Simon to the stream.
Welcome, Bryce.
We got a special one for you today. We are very fortunate to be joined by absolute Pistons and basketball Iron Man podcaster. You might know him as the co-host of the Pistons Pulse with Omari Sankofa. The second, you might know him as the co-host of the Game Theory podcast with Sam Vecini. He is a former D1 hooper. He is a teacher. He is a husband and a father of 3 amazing kids. You know him at Motor City Hoops. Give it up, y'all, for Bryce Simon. Thanks for being here, Bryce.
What's up, guys, man? Thank you for having me. I appreciate you going through the intro. And I know you listen to the Pistons Pulse because that is the same intro that I love to throw out there for 100+ episodes now. So I appreciate you very much. Listen, you guys have my head spinning right now with all of the stuff that we're recording with. You're hitting buttons and there's all this fancy stuff. And then I also have to ask, is this a play on Harry Potter?
It's not. There's no play. I mean, we were visited. Okay. We're kind of. I like to think of us as Joan of the Top of the Ark. Because we were visited by the mascot, and the Harry Potter stuff, like Order of the Phoenix, right?
Yes.
That's like one of the third books. Great book. Harry Potter's wonderful. Not like I haven't heard a Harry Potter a million times in my life. You're a wizard, Harry. I don't like hearing that. But, you know, when you're Harry, you don't get too much. It's a lot of magicians my way. But, yeah, no play on that. It's just, you know, Hooper's a blazing horse. He likes to do things his way. So that's where we're at, man.
Okay,
It's witchy. It's a little witchy. It's a little, you know, mystical. Like there's definitely some crossover there.
No,
so you're
the reason I ask, like, I'm a huge Harry Potter fan. Like, if there's a thing that I'm a nerd about outside of basketball, it is Harry Potter. I have memorabilia, I have books, I have collectibles, I have the movies, like all of that stuff. So I'm just sitting here going, man, like maybe there's a connection here between all of this. So that's why I had to ask.
Hey, man, the connection is we got you. We got Harry and we got you, the big fan. So as we have draft expert, robe owner, and wand owner Bryce Simon here. Do you have the robe and the wand? Are those two things?
I don't have a robe, but I do actually have a wand.
Okay, I knew you would. I knew you would. I'm gonna start a rumor that you like to be called the Nimbus online. We'll see if we can get that going on. Bryce, the Nimbus 2000.
That's gonna stick for sure.
Here's who it sticks with. It sticks with my students is who it sticks with. Whenever people do stuff like that, a Cavs guy did the Bryce Simon versus mac and cheese meme or whatever graphic you guys may have. My students Googled me and found that. And then some of them changed their iPads at school to that background. And then I have to explain it and they don't understand it. Like they don't really understand what I do. So it's a whole thing.
They're middle schoolers, right? You teach middle schoolers?
Yeah, seventh and eighth grade.
So I'm gonna let you in a little secret. They don't need to understand it. They're just gonna burn you to death with it. I was a terrible middle school. I'll break the story a little bit. I got kicked out of my English 7th grade middle school class every day for an entire year, and the teacher had to call me into the principal's office, and she broke down, had a nervous breakdown because she thought I was so disruptive in class. And I still got an A the whole time. I think that was driving her crazy that I was doing good grades in her class and whatnot. But middle school kids are mean, dude. Like, you grow up, you learn some stuff, but they don't know anything about you. They know it's funny to be mean. They know it's funny to tease you. You got to deal with it. Yo, I actually think that you work in the perfect industry to really be able to analyze the Pistons, because most of the Pistons are 21, and that's just a middle schooler who can go to the club, right? That's just a middle schooler at the club. So I think you got some great insight. So I think we're very fortunate to have you here, and I think the Pistons are fortunate to have you as part of the sphere, as it would be.
Well, I enjoy it. I'm very excited to be here, talk hoops with you guys. I told you, man, like, I know you guys like to joke and have some fun and all of that. And I am the last person. I'm the least funny person. I don't know where I rank in content creators, but if they ranked them in terms of the funniest, the least funniest, I do know I'd be on the bottom of that list.
Amen. You laugh, you smile. That counts for something.
I
do think it was funny. The first, go ahead, Mickey.
No, I was just gonna say, don't worry about it. Again, we're big fans, and Pistons Pulse is definitely our favorite Pistons pod, not based on a mythical prophecy. So
for sure,
you've got that going for you.
Well, Harry assured me you two were funny enough that all I had to be able to do was talk about the Pistons, and then I like to smile, I like to laugh, so I can play into that as much as I need to.
Sick. I'm happy you do. For those who don't know, Bryce, former D4 and Hooper, went to American University. Very cool. He's a man with a stroke. I've seen you hitting him on Twitter, posting that video. Pretty fun stuff. When I found out you went to American, it like the one thing I think of, because I read this book called The Punch, and it's about. Do you know where I'm going with this? Do you know the most famous?
I don't
basketball.
Know the book.
So the most famous basketball alum that I can think of from American University is Kermit Washington.
Oh, yeah. Of course I know. Yeah. Okay, now.
Yeah.
So yes, I know where you're going now.
For Pistons fans who don't know, Kermit Washington is the player who's got the more famous punch to the face than Isaiah Stewart. He punched Rudy Tomjanovich so hard it messed him up. Personally, on the court, not in the tunnel, and there actually is video evidence of that happening, not like Beef Stew's punch to Eubanks. So
alleged
punch. Yeah, there's no evidence in that regard. But like this guy knows ball. He played ball. He's there for it. So with that in mind, Mickey and I were talking as a draft season, and we've been fans for so long, and we've lived through highs. We're old enough to have lived through highs. Some of you viewers may not have been old enough to live through high on this, which is wild. But we've also lived through some lows. And we just lost a guy who we thought had a pretty good drafting acumen. But when you look back in the years of the past, Pistons did miss out on a lot of opportunities in some famous regards. Am I wrong in that, Mickey?
No, you're not wrong at all. So yeah, we thought we'd play a little game if I can tee it up here. It's called the In Your Dreams team. And basically, Harry and I each compiled a starting 5 of players that the Pistons over the past 10 years passed on. There's a couple rules. It can't go back further than 2014 draft, and there can only be 3 All-Stars maximum in the starting lineup.
To be fair,
I'm taking notes. That's why if you see me looking down, it's because I swear I have a notebook here, because as you go through it, I'm taking this stuff serious. And so, you know what's funny though? I was just on the Athletic NBA show with Andrew Schlecht and Fred Katz, and we did NBA draft stuff and some of that. And then, Schlecht plays it whenever he hosts, it's called Fred versus a Friend. So we played the trivia game. And what we found was the Pistons have actually drafted decent at times. It's just those guys didn't win in Detroit, because Chris Middleton goes and wins a championship. Bruce Brown goes and wins a championship. KCP goes and wins a championship. And then I was on Pistons Talk, and we talked even more. They drafted some really, really good role players. They just haven't been able to draft stars.
Right. And I think I'm sure you've touched on this in another fashion, because the player didn't bring up because he didn't win a championship is Spencer Dinwiddie, but Dinwiddie for a while had this insane assist to turnover ratio. And part of the problem is when you're only getting role players, you miscast them as star players. And we'll get into that later when we're talking about the draft stuff, but to me, it's one of the toughest things to overcome. I didn't play college ball. I tried out for Michigan State's team. There's a whole story behind that. I didn't make it. No big deal. I have no love for Izzo. He laughed at me during the tryout because I got run over and was streaking on my face. But whatever. But when I was playing
we're
AAU,
over it. It's fine.
Yeah, I'm for sure over it. It's only been 20 years and I'm way over it.
Never wakes up in a cold sweat thinking about Izzo's laughing face. It's fine.
It's fine. But for me, I was playing AAU a lot, and I was point guard, scorer, that sort of thing. And then when I started getting older and playing with better and better people, you have to make this transition to role player, and it's a huge ego thing to accept, because especially in basketball, so much of basketball is confidence. Your confidence matters a lot. It carries you on the court. It carries your shot. It helps you believe that you can do things that if you have doubt, you're going to mess up and not be able to do. So when you have these role players trying to do those things, it's rough. One of the things I think is Sadiq Bey, when he scored 50 points, that was the worst thing that could have happened to his career, because I think he got into his mind that he's yo, I can be that star. I think people think that potentially the team asked him to be. I don't think they did. I think he scored 50. He's I'm this guy. I'm going to the mountains. I'm climbing the mountains to train. It's yo, they don't play ball in the mountains, bro. They play it on the fucking basketball court. You got the Joker tattooed on your arm. I don't understand why players love the Joker so much. Like Killmonger from Black Panther. He's got better hair, and he's actually has a reason for being. So I don't understand the mentality behind it. I'm just saying it's hard to convince yourself when you've been the man that you have a role. And I think that'll come to play when we talk about this draft, because I think this draft is a lot of role players as a whole.
There's a lot of rhythm that goes into that as well. So you probably experienced this. I know for me, I went to a really small high school, and so I played with the ball in my hands. I was the best player probably and all of that. So I got to touch the ball whenever I wanted. I got to shoot whenever I wanted. And quite honestly, there were no repercussions if I missed or airballed or took a bad shot or whatever. And then you go to the next level, and all of a sudden you don't have the ball in your hands at all times, and you can only take certain shots. And there's a rhythm that you have grown up with that changes. I'm glad you brought up the confidence, because that's another thing as well. You have to think you're the best player on the floor while also knowing that you're not the best player on the floor because somebody else is. That's a really weird way of having to, have your mind wrapped around the game of basketball.
Mm-hmm. I think essentially you have to convince yourself, be yo, they're not winning without me. I'm the best at this thing, right? And you that you have that important role. It's a tough balance. It's something you can accomplish. It's a tough thing to ask a young kid who's been the bomb to accomplish, but it is for sure possible. I do think, I think players are capable of it.
Sure. So
with all that lead up, shall we go into our in your dreams teams? Mickey, do you want to start with your boys here?
Yeah. It's a deep pool to pick from. And I gotta say, I'm really high on my team. I think these guys could give this Celtics squad a run for their money.
I have a question.
It feels like
I have a question.
Shoot.
Will you guys have overlap in players, or did you draft back and forth before we recorded, or you just said you pick your guys, I pick my guys?
You know what's so funny? We went over it beforehand because I just wanted to see. We didn't have any overlap. There was no overlap.
But you could have.
Yeah.
Oh,
we didn't
beautiful.
like draft it or anything. It's but no, we gave each other like a few hints just to like get a sense, but we have zero overlap thus far.
Let's go.
Okay. So, you ready, Harry?
I'm ready.
Okay, cool. At the 1, Tyrese Halliburton. I feel like it's one of the more recent draft night regrets now that Killian Hayes is no longer in the league, seemingly. He's so good. He thought he was going to Detroit. Just really broke out this season. Such an amazing distributor, amazing scorer. The form might be funky, but the shot falls. Hallie at the 1, no question. I'm just going to blast through here. At the 2, this was a tricky decision. Wasn't sure. Donovan Mitchell's so good as well, but I went with Book. He's a little bigger. Not much to say. He's just, he can score at all 3 levels. He's not a hole on defense. He can distribute. Not that Hallie needs that much help in that regard. At the 3, OG Anunoby, amazing defense, can shoot. Along those lines, at the 4, Jaden McDaniels, just absolutely loved what he did in the playoffs. He is so good. That's, by the way, one of the things that hurts the most about this. It's like, we're not going to get all the stars. We're not going to get Donovan Mitchell. We're not going to get Booker. We could have got a Jaden McDaniels. Really would have loved like that high-end role player, 3-and-D type. He's so good. And then at the 5, just like lesser known guy, Nikola Jokic. Figured toss him in there. I hear he's pretty.
That's Mickey's missed opportunities. All right, I want to tell.
That's my in your dreams team.
So I didn't pick Hallie because I felt like I couldn't do that to Indiana. We had the malice of the palace. I could not let them settle for Killian Hayes and take away Tyrese Halliburton from them. There's no way. I'm happy for all their success in that regard. And with Booker, the reason I didn't pick Booker is because his shoes are so ugly. Like I just can't have a guy with hideous ass shoes on their.
That's fair.
It drives me crazy. Like I see guys like Ant and Harden with their AE shoes and the Harden shoes. I think those shoes are so bad. Like I know people really like them, and I see Ant shoes, like I don't want honeycomb. I see Harden shoes. I'm not looking to wear some Muppets lips on my feet. They just look bad, but at least they're interesting. And Booker shoes are just so boring. I'd be so mad if I was him. And the reason—
Are you a sneakerhead, Harry?
I grew up in the time period of, same as you. I grew up when pennies were happening, when Jordans were happening, the answers, the questions. I had East Bay all over the walls of my my room.
East Bay was amazing.
East Bay was the bomb. Some people had dirty magazines. I had East Bay magazines. All the college shorts just ran it up the table. So yeah, I'm not like a huge sneakerhead because I like them for functionality. When I was doing stand up, I would wear them on stage. That's cool, but I'm not dropping crazy coin on that. I just want some cool shoes. I own the Sabrina ones because 1, they're crazy comfortable, and 2, I saw Cade wear them. Those shoes look so good compared to, like, if you look at like the LaMelo shoes, I see kids wearing those. They look like paper mache. I touch them. I cannot believe that's a real shoe. So I'm like a sneaker purist. I'll say that, and I have so many problems with a whole bunch of them. So kids grow up and get a Sabrina shoe.
This always makes me laugh because if you ask me what any dude's shoes look like, I couldn't pair Booker shoes with like LeBron. I could not do it. I have no idea. I never pay attention to their shoes. Now, I did wear the answers and all of those. Iverson was my favorite player growing up. The funny thing, when I was coaching, when I first came back, I coached my little cousin, and I used to make fun of him all the time because he was like you, and he would always be talking after the game like, oh, so-and-so's shoes. And he'd be talking to him about it at the free throw line when somebody was shooting free throws and stuff. And he was a really good scorer, not a good defender. I'm like, yeah, you don't guard because you're too busy staring at their shoes and trying to figure out what they're wearing. And I'm like, bro, like, can you guard just a little bit? So it just, that always makes me think of that. But This makes me realize how little I pay attention to the uniforms, the shoes, all of that. Like, I don't know. I don't even know what the Pistons colors are. I have no idea. I don't know what jerseys they wear.
That's fucking hilarious, man.
This is the important stuff here. This is really what determines championships, I think.
The color of uniform. I truly don't know the last time a red, white, and blue team won a National Basketball Association, because it's us and the Clippers, right? And the 76ers. I'm not huge on the color combination. I know it's classic and all that, but whatever. It's hard to match when you got primaries in a shade. It's rough. And as far as your cousin go, talking about the shoes and about the outfit, that's how you distract players. That's a mind game on defense. Like I was all about that. I was always talking to other players, always like yapping at them a whole bunch, either in a positive way or a negative way. I was that dude who like pull down your shorts while you're playing. I still do that at pickup. Like I'm a pest, and like so that's for me. That's what my role changed. My role changed from like being a guy who scored to just defense because I got plus wingspan. And like when you're on defense, you can just do all that stuff, and it's a pretty easy transition, I think. So that's my whole thing. So Mickey, great team. I was impressed. I'm gonna go through mine a little faster. So in our redraft, I drafted Cade again. That's right. I went back and I picked him again because the shoes are great with the Sabrinas, and also he's a vegan who's able to gain weight. That blows my mind. He's a superhero. I love it. Number 2, Tyrese Maxey. He's so fun. He's so fast. He's so fun. He seems like such a nice guy. Every time I hear him in the interviews, I'm like, hey, man, what a sweetheart. I want him on my team. At the 3, let's get J-Dub in here. Let's get that back up. This man is a baller. And plus, then we'll know if we should draft Cody Williams or not this year. At the 4, Pascal Siakam, because I like a little foreign name. I like a little Pascal in there. And like, I can't remember the last time we had a good 4 on the team. And at the 5, it's got to be Bam. It's got to be Bam, dude. And not only, but mainly because then he wouldn't hit that dagger 3 against the Pistons that ended Cade's mistake earlier this year. I would never want to see that again. He's a great guy. He's very fun. Those are Harry's heartbreakers. That's who I would have loved to see on the team. So, Bryce, who you got? Who's your squad over here?
Harry, you're my guy, right? You know this. Like I really like you. We've known each other for a while. We've talked in DMs. We connect. We chat. I thought this was going to be harder than what it ended up being.
No,
I think
I like where this is going. I love the preamble.
You were more animated with the presentation of your team, which I appreciate, and they may have better shoes and be more diverse and whatever. I think Mickey's team is sweeping you in a best of 7.
Yeah, I think it's probably true. I don't even necessarily think it's close. Mickey, you dominated it. It's so great.
Thank you.
What was your mentality when picking your team?
Oh my God, I'm so glad you asked. So, there's a lot of like, you look around at teams like OKC, they've got the dribble pass shoot thing. The Magic, they're big, they play great defense. I feel like my team kind of has all that stuff, like all of the great ethics. They can dribble pass shoot. I don't think there's a guy on the squad under 6'5"-ish.
Oh my God.
Great IQ guys. Like, yeah, and that's why, again, like, I was like, oh, Donovan Mitchell's amazing. Would love to have him on the squad.
Neither of us took him. That's crazy.
Booker's got a couple more inches. Yeah, that is crazy, by the way. I love that you were faithful to Cade, but you probably should have picked Donovan Mitchell. But that's okay. That's okay. So that was your call.
Part of the reason I took Cade, too, is because I was so staunch on him being the pick. Like, when I saw that we had the first pick, I was like, I love the way this guy plays. I love jumbo guards who can take other guards down to the post. I love that. I think it's pretty incredible. And I know people say like, oh, of course they're going to pick Cade. It didn't seem like that in the community. It seemed like people were like, they should go maybe Evan Mobley. And not even Scotty Barnes is the third guy. There was like a third person. I can't remember who was in that draft. Oh, people were saying Jalen Suggs, like legit Jalen Suggs. And I was like, that's fine. You don't know what this type of player can be. This type of guard could crush it. Like, I think it'd be great. And I still stand by it. I think the team's done him dirty. He also has these leadership qualities that I think are like pretty impressive, especially for a guy who's gone through as much loss as he has. I just really like him. So I'll stand for Cade.
And Jalen Green as well. I mean, Jalen Green ended up going number 2 in that class.
That's right. But We don't got to talk about Jalen Green. We know the Rockets beef. He's an exciting player in his own. I think he's very fortunate to be.
Because remember, Summer League, they went. That was did it kick off Summer League, or maybe it was the nightcap of the first day of Summer League was Detroit versus Houston, I think.
That's right.
That's right.
That's
or
right.
They played it. Is that right? Maybe that's not right. They played at some point though, didn't they?
It was pretty early on, and I know it was like a pretty highly anticipated game.
I don't think it
did. I think OKC Detroit kicked off Summer League because Giddey rolled his ankle. Is that right? And now I'm old, guys. I'm sorry. Maybe I'm misremembering.
We're talking about Summer League. None of us fucking know. Like, people are going to get out there and figure it out. Summer League is its own thing, okay? I guess I wanted to talk a little bit, just like an impromptu thing. You're on a lot of podcasts now talking about the draft and following the Pistons. You started out, like, just with the Pistons Pulse. You're a former player. Do you have aspirations as far as, like, growing your career in basketball?
It's funny because I never would have thought I would have got to the point I am right now. When I started out, so people who don't know, I'm not a lifelong Pistons fan. This all started out as a Motor City Hoops podcast that my former college teammate started right as we were starting to come out of COVID, I guess. It was December 2020. And I was like, sure, I'll do it. I grew up, loving Sports Center and talk shows and PTI and all of those things. And so I said, sure, I'll do it. And I never knew where it would go or what it'd become. And so I just kept growing and it became the Pistons Pulse. I essentially cold DM'd Omari and said, after we recorded one time in Summer League, actually, we recorded in person. A few months later, I sent him a DM and said, hey, any chance you would want to join and be my co-host? And he messaged me back. He's like, yeah, let's do it. And he went to the Free Press, and then the Free Press is like, we've thought about getting into the audio space. We want this to be our podcast. And that's how that's how the Pistons Pulse became that. And then through to be honest, game theory really came probably initially from Spinella. I got to know Spinella. And then whenever he was moving on to the next thing, I think he kind of got me in with Sam and grown that out. I do some non-media draft stuff. I do some consulting, and I would like to continue to pursue that and push that. But I don't know that I have, if you ask me what my ultimate goal is, I don't know that I have an answer for you. I'm just trying to grind and enjoy it and I enjoy every podcast I go on. I never dread it. I never stress about it. The only thing I stress about is trivia. That like Andrew was like, no, we're doing trivia. It's like, I don't want to do that. He's like, no, we're doing it. And I had heart palpitations leading up to it. So that's the only thing that stresses me out because I don't want to look like a fool with trivia, but no, I love every second of it.
You cannot look like a fool with trivia. It's trivial. That's why it's called trivia. Like, it doesn't matter. If you know that stuff, cool. You might win a free beer at the bar. That's pretty sick. But you know where you can look up trivia? On the internet. You can figure it out. And it doesn't have like any sort of effect on the future. I think really what matters is like, do you know the game? Do you know what it takes to be a player? Do you know what sort of intangibles to like look for? And like, again, I'll get into this when we start talking about the draft, which we're going to segue into here when Mickey gets back. But when we're talking about the Pistons, like specifically, I feel like the more you watch over time, if you've been a Pistons fan watching the game, you know faults with the players, and you want players that can do all three of these things, and that's shoot the three, play D, and they have a good grasp on the game. Like, they're able to read the game well. Those three things are very difficult for a player to contain all. I think it's like a very rare combination that goes through. But I think it's a lot like, so when you're working, when you're applying for jobs and stuff and you want to like keep your job, people tell you like, do three things: be likable, be fast, and be good at your, like, be effective, be a positive thing. If you do all three, that's great. But if you can pull two of those three, you can probably work for a long time. For the Pistons players that we should be looking for, I kind of think if you can do two of those three, we're in business here. Like, that's more than we got. You look at last season and season before, you got Alec Burks, you got Bogdanovich. Offense, cool. You got right now, you want to talk about Asar. I'm higher on Asar than I think a lot of people because I think he reads the game very well, and I think his defense is pretty exceptional. The offensive shooting, whatever. A lot of players can't shoot. I just think it's something that can come along. When you look at guys like Ivy and Duran, who knows? I think with that, neither one has D, really. I appreciate the effort from Ivy. I do think it's like getting better. You think about like seeing the game really well. I don't know. I don't know for either of those player. And when we talk about like shooting the three, the answer is neither. Like,
Yeah,
it truly. So when we're looking at this draft and we look at drafts that passed, last year I was really high on Brandon Pajemski because I was like, this dude has like no athleticism whatsoever, but he rebounds like crazy. He shoots the three really well. And while sometimes he can get like burned on defense, I actually think he holds up okay. And I think it's because he knows where to be. He knows how the game's going to play out. And surprise, surprise, dude's first team all rookie, right? And in a pretty rough situation for that to be going on. I think it's a situation where a lot of rookies in the past haven't done well at Golden State. So what are you looking for as far as Pistons draft picks go this year?
So I have to ask you, have you looked into Devin Carter very much? Because I feel like if you like Pajemski, Devin Carter could be a guy that you really like.
I'm super high on Devin Carter. For this team, I don't know because
No. I was just talking in general.
Yeah, as a player, he's nepotism, not in a bad way. Like he's the son of a player, right? So great. His dad's like a coach right now at Memphis or something.
I would have to look that up.
Well, regardless, he has basketball history. He was the man at his school, and he does a lot of great stuff. I know the questions about him this year are like, is the shooting real? So many players in this draft have 0 years of shooting or like years from high school of shooting. And like, I'll buy the 1 year. I'm fine with buying the 1 year. If you show you can do it at some point, I'm fine with it. So Devin Carter, I like. I am very hesitant about short players, if I'm being completely honest.
Sure.
And I know that's like, when you're looking at guards in this draft, there's a slew, like a true slew. And like the taller guards, they've got questions about like how developed are they and all that jazz. But like, you know, Devin Carter, McCain, Reed Shepherd, those are all small boys. And the NBA is full of big boys. And it's not like the person you're guarding is going to be, you don't stay on one man the whole game. You get switched on to all the time. I mean, you're looking at the finals right now. They're switched on to Luka like crazy, right? And that could be a problem, I think. And Luka's a big man. So I'm hesitant about that. Also because I don't want any more defense to fall on Cade. I think he tries. I don't think he's great at it. And I don't want him to play defense all that much. So that's my stance.
So yeah, Devin Carter, I didn't know this. So you learned so even some like obviously I knew Anthony Carter was his dad. I did not realize he was an assistant for the Memphis Grizzlies. So yeah. There you go. Good call. That what I'm looking for is it's kind of fun to bring up the three different things because I'm essentially on the same page. What the things that I think raise the floor of the Detroit Pistons is more floor spacing, better defense, and not turning the ball over all the time.
Yeah.
So I think those hit exactly what you're talking about, right? Like you said, feel for the game. I think feel for the game usually leads to less turnovers. In general, I think those things would go a little bit hand in hand. Also, rebounding is something about, but so for the Pistons specifically, I would like a guy that can hit two of those three things and do it well. And that is why I do like Zachary Risachet.
Me too.
And why I understand that people are like, the upside's not there. He's not athletic enough. He shoots the ball really well, and he's going to be a very, very quality on-ball and off-ball team defender. Give me two of those three things, and I can figure some of the other stuff out.
There's the third thing I want to point out about him. He's currently playing as a role player on a professional team. Sure. That matters. When I'm looking at this draft, I don't think role player is bad. We talked about it earlier about the mentality of like, when you're a role player, you have to think you're the best. I want the best role player. Basketball is a 5-person team. When was the last time one individual won a game, or even won like a championship, or even three? The big three is dead. Boston won because they're 8 deep. Denver won because that team fits together so well. Like the NBA's changed. Talent level's too high. People train too well. Athleticism is too good. You have to make your team. So am I upset that there's like not a star at the top of the draft? I don't give a shit. We're not picking first. I want the best role player for this team with the direction that you can see it going. And I think Risachet has all those traits for it. I don't care if he's not going to be a star. I really don't, because you never know in the draft anyway if someone's going to be a star. But if they have like floor traits, that's great. I'm super fine with it. So
another example of that is the Knicks. Like if the Knicks, I wonder where the Knicks go this year. I think they at least make the Eastern Conference Finals, but it's the same thing. It's a bunch of really good role players around. No, like maybe you don't want K to be as heliocentric as Brunson was, but you just like eventually the injuries took its toll and they couldn't go any further. But you just put a bunch of really good role players that just thrive in their role, Harry. Like those guys, Josh Hart knows who he is and he goes and does his thing. I love watching Dante DiVincenzo because he knows who he is. And then the thing is, you could see the switch flip whenever Brunson was out of the game. Like, okay, I got to be even more aggressive. And Hartenstein knows who he is. Mitch Rob knows who he is. OG knows who he is.
Deuce.
And you make up Deuce. Exactly. Risa Shea, not only is he doing that in a pro league, he was 18 years old for most of that league. You know what else he did? He went through a month-long shooting slump, and he still found ways to play minutes for that team and had some good games coming out of that shooting slump. So he is very solidly the second prospect for me. I listened to some of the doubts and stuff, and I'm like, you know what? Every time I watch him, I believe in his game. I think he plays the game the right way.
Yeah, I completely agree. And with all that said, I don't think there's a snowball's chance in hell he's there at 5. But I think
no. I'm with you there as well. Yeah, that is. I try to get there, and it's a pipe dream to think that he's gonna fall to 5. They would have to trade up if they want Risa Shea.
Right, and if I'm being honest, that's not worth it. Like I don't think it's worth it to trade up. So for me, when we're really thinking about the 5th pick, I think there are some options, but the realistic ones who could be there I want to talk about are Reed Shepherd. And my question, I'm going to ask 2 questions right off the bat, but because we're really closing on time here for these 3. You can give me quick answers on it. But for Reed Shepherd, what else does the team have to do if they draft him? Because as I pointed out, he's small. And he's small. Like, that's just a fact. He can shoot. That's great. He can block. He can steal. He can read the game. Cool. He's small. It's going to be a problem. And he's like kind of athletic, but he's not like crazy athletic. So what do you have to do? What do you have to build the team around him? What makes that possible? And then 2, if Klingon falls, do you draft him or do you trade him because people are salivating for him and just count on being able to sign one of the big 3 bigs that are available in free agency?
Yeah, so with Reed, I'm right there with you. I think the floor spacing is awesome. He definitely checks one of the boxes. And I do think that if you draft Reed, then you have to build the rest of your offseason around that because you really need defenders around a backcourt of Cade Cunningham and Reed Shepherd. And like, I don't think I'm not as high on Reed Shepherd's on ball as some other people are. And I think that's where I don't have him quite as high. With Donovan Klingon, if the Pistons just drafted Klingon, I would be okay with it. I think you could play him and Duren the 48 minutes at center and then figure it out after seeing another year of Jalen Duren and seeing how dominant Klingon can be on the defensive end. But I think Klingon falling to 5 is the most likely opportunity for the Pistons to trade back. I don't know that another guy makes sense. You know, if Reed falls to 5, I don't know that people are salivating to get up. If Ron Holland falls to, well, that's not falling. Ron Holland. I don't think people.
If people reach for Ron Holland at 5, no, I know you're a Ron Holland fan, but like
I've actually soured, to be honest with you.
Cool.
I truly have.
I just want to say real quick about Ron Holland. Like people love him, and like I get it. I love the motor. I love the drive. I brought up 3 things that I want out of players: defense, 3-point, read the game. It's not just that he doesn't shoot the ball well, it's that he doesn't take smart shots. And I think that's because he doesn't read the game all that well. And I think that's a harder thing to develop. And so that's why I'm more hesitant about drafting him.
Even as high as I've been on him, I've been the biggest one to say this is a boom or bust. Like this is a team that should draft him that really wants to take a swing for the fensive. And I have dropped him actually recently. So that wouldn't even be falling for him. Long story short, Klingon's the one guy at 5 that would make sense that Memphis should be calling if Klingon is there at 5, and Detroit should very much consider trading back because I think at 9, you could still get Dalton Connect, who only solves one of these things, but still.
Potentially 2. I think he reads the game well.
Yeah, that's fair. Matas Buzelis, who I think he does 2 of these things, maybe.
Right.
I think he's a decent defender. I think he'll end up above neutral. And I do think he reads the game well for the position he'll be asked to play. I don't know whether he shoots it or not.
It's a position of need, too, like on top of it.
1,000. That's why I'm so high on Matas for Detroit, Harry, is because I think he plays that forward position that they haven't had. Who did you say? Who did you draft at the 4 for your team?
It was Siakam.
And you said this team hasn't had a true 4. And Matas is that's the idea of Matas.
This is one thing I want to say too about the 4 position. I think it is unnecessary to draft a ball dominant 4. Like we look at Jason Tatum,
sure.
this is the most successful he's been, and it's because the rest of that team is great. When I think about Giannis, it's like if he's not dominant, then it's rough. It's like really rough for him. And you look at a team like the Knicks, do they even need Julius Randle? Obviously not. Like I think the 4 is a very overhyped position as far as like star players go. Just be a functional role player, and I think you can really get success out of that. So that's why I'm fine with Matas. Plus, he talks great shit, like all-time shit. The stuff he said about Zachary Richardson, my advantage on him is that I have everything on him. That's confidence, baby! I love that! He will pull your shorts down. I know he will. Plus, he'll gain some weight. I got a feeling he'll gain some weight. And so, Mickey, welcome back, by the way. So where we're at right now, you got to go real quick here.
No, I got a few minutes here. God will forgive me.
Okay, thank you, God. Hooper thanks you as well. we're all there with it. So this is one thing I want to talk about as far as like draft. People talk about Tijang Saloon a little bit,
Sure.
And I'm curious. I read Steve Gillespie's piece out of No Ceilings. No Ceilings is great, by the way. If you're in a draft,
Awesome.
No Ceilings, what's up? And I've watched a lot of, not a lot, but like I've watched my fair share of some like EuroLeague games. My question is it better? Is it like worth drafting Salon at 5 or trading back to like 9 and drafting him, or trading back even further and going after like Pacom Dadier, who is the same size? Shoots it better, has a better vertical, is a shorter like wingspan. They're both development players, but Dadier can shoot. Like his form looks really pretty, and they're both the same age and the same size. I don't quite see why someone's superior, but who knows? I also want George Blaha to say Dadier see, Dadier like, and Gregory to be into it. If I can get that every game, I'm in.
Yeah. So the thing with Saloon, I think that he has over Dadier is the defense. Like I have real not sure what Dadier did. And Saloon may have the best quote unquote motor in the class. He plays extremely hard. And I do think he has a feel for the game in terms of his cutting. If you want to see, if you haven't seen it, me and Sam did a breakdown on him over on the Game Theory YouTube channel. If you click on the videos, you can find it. It's mixed in the last 8 to 10 or something like that. So yeah, I mean, I think this is why trading back is interesting, because I think there's a chance Connect there. There's a chance Buzelis is there. Saloon could be there. Cody Williams, I don't love him at 5, but if you're going to trade back, get future assets or something like that, that's a guy I would like better at, 9, 10, 11, 12, something like that.
I agree. And then, like, again, further back, like, I like Dadier. I also like Deron Holmes II. I think
don't.
I know you're huge on him, but like, dude is taller than Stu. He plays great defense. He's got a better handle. And he's never committed Washington to anybody. So like that's a positive. And I also like, I like that he communicates on defense. Like you can see him barking on defense, and I love that about it. I think he'd be a great player to have stretch big. I'm curious whether he could play the 5 in the pros. But
not exclusively. And that's why it was so important for Deron Holmes to develop the skill level that he did this last season and show that, because he's going to be a little bit of a tweener, that certain matchups he can play the 5, certain matchups he can play the 4, but when you can stretch the floor, it ends up not mattering quite as much.
Right. I think he'd be a great fit personally. And then two other players that I like Baylor Shireman a lot. I was actually way earlier in the year, I was like, man, this guy's going to drop in the second round. I cannot wait for them to scoop him. And I was like, this guy, there's no way he's going to be available.
I think he's going to be a first round pick. Yeah.
I agree. And then I like AJ Johnson a lot as well, because I feel like, I mean, again, tall guard, I think he's shown like some crazy flashes. Like, you want to talk about star upside? I think the kid has it. Like, truly, if you're going to trade back, I think if you're really looking for like a star swing, it's got to be in the low 20s, early 30s, because it's not worth the risk as high up. If you're going to go up high, get that role player. If you want to go for star, go lower. That's my personal view.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. And that's why I've slowly gotten more comfortable with where I have Rob Dillingham on my board. And I've just told people, listen, this is where I'm comfortable taking the swing. I'm not comfortable taking the swing in the top 5 or the top 10 on, like, this dude is like almost historically small. Here's what I want to, when you guys see Marcus Sasser on an NBA court, what do you think? I think he looks small. Does he look small to you guys?
Yeah, he's bigger than Rob by like.
Then he is bigger than Rob Dillingham. He has a longer wingspan than Rob Dillingham. Here's the thing: Malik Monk, who a lot of people be like, oh, Malik Monk's kind of skinny, weighed 30 pounds more coming out of college than Rob Dillingham does.
It's crazy. I weigh more than Rob Dillingham does, and I don't weigh more than anybody. Like, I am a slender man. It's really rough. So no shade to Rob, because I think he's a great player. I think he's exciting. But
in a vacuum, one of the best offensive players in the class.
I just think not a Pistons fit. Like, for sure not a Pistons fit. They cannot risk it the way this team is. And like, I get, you're like, oh, you want to swing upside? They can't afford to. They just can't, because so much of upside matters on situation, and the Pistons are not a situation for upside for a lot of players.
Yeah, I'm with you. They have a bunch of cap space. They have young players they can consolidate. They have other avenues to go get a star player. I don't think this draft is the place for them to take a swing. Go get a role player that can contribute, ideally in 2 of the 3 ways you're talking about, and then find that second star in another way. And it doesn't even have to be the second star that fits perfectly with Cade for the next 10 years. Maybe it's a second star that fits good enough to get this team to 30 wins, and then you figure out how to make the next step 2 years from now. They don't have to build a perfectly formed championship roster this offseason. Just do something that makes them competent and more enjoyable to watch next season.
30 wins. And people say we're crazy for believing a horse visited us in a dream.
I set you up for that. That was a softball for you right there.
Mickey, I can't hear you on the mic, dog. Is it in? No, it's not there yet. We'll get it to work.
Mickey, we got to do. I want to come back soon if you guys will have me, so I can talk with Mickey. And this has been awesome. And I hate that I have to leave early. So please invite me back soon.
For sure. Yeah. If you want to come back again, we'll have you back. We'll talk some free agent stuff, which would be great. And we could do part 2 of the Bryce thing. So that'd be very fun. Ladies and gentlemen, awesome. Bryce Simon, Motor City Hoops, on Substack, on Twitter. Listen to his podcast. He really knows what's up. Have fun, dude. Have a great day. So with that, I'm going to go melt away in this heat. I got more stuff to do around the house and stuff. Mickey, you want to take us out here?
Yeah, this has been Order of the Blazing Horse, the only Pistons podcast based on a mystical prophecy. I'm Mickey Jacobs.
I'm Harry Moros.